Making it last is all I care to do. You loving me, I loving you. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life. We won't live in the past. We're making it last.
It's time for another conversation. Welcome to Making It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, but with other people. And this time around, we have a repeat guest. Before we had her virtually, but now we have her live and in direct color right here at Meet Studio in Mandeville, Jamaica. We're speaking with Anthia Barrymore. She's a associate counseling psychologist, but she's also the creator and producer for Kids Space.
It's good to be here.
Good. Live and in living color.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what we're going to be talking about this time around is what are the parenting styles, and of course its implications on relationships. I believe there are 4 primary. Is it 4?
Yes.
Okay.
According to the literature, there are 4.
Okay.
Right. All right. So, first of all, what I want to say for your viewers, as we talk about the matter of parenting, parenting is not easy, but parenting must be done. All right. So you will hear persons or parents in this space saying, well, it's not easy. As you talk about this topic, some might be wondering, well, you don't have children, so you don't know. You'll hear these sayings when you talk about topics like this. But just to let your viewers know, I do have children.
Okay.
Right? All right. So there are 4 primary parenting styles, right, according to the literature. And I'll start in no specific order.
Okay.
So you have uninvolved parenting, you have permissive parenting, you have authoritarian parenting, and authoritative parenting, right?
Okay.
Now, in terms of these parenting styles, first of all, I must say that it is good that we have programs like what you're having here, because sometimes we're practicing the thing, but we don't really know what it is, and even if it's the right thing that we're doing.
True.
Right?
True.
And so, according to some research, there's a particular parenting style that is practiced here in Jamaica. We'll talk about that a little bit down.
Okay.
But we'll get right into what the parenting styles are, their definitions, and
Okay.
certainly the implications that it will have on the parenting process and the child.
Yes.
All right, so uninvolved parenting is exactly what the name suggests. So you have your child or your children and you're not involved in their lives. And this can be from the stage of infancy right up to childhood, or even there's a thing where parents think that parenting stops at 16, the age of consent. There's so many schools of thought that goes around when we talk about parenting. But let's take it from infancy, because there are stages of development in the lifespan of a human being. So what does uninvolved look like at infancy? The child is there and there's no interaction happening with the child. So you're not playing with the child. You're not, the baby might just be there, lying down, goo goo gaga, you know. So there's no stimulation really happening. You know, when you have your child, they say, hi, good morning, even though they can't talk back to you, you're interacting.
With them.
Right, you might have that child being in a wet pampers for very long, you know, in terms of, so uninvolved is almost like neglect. So the child is there and you are not present in the child's life. And as the child grows, and let's say at school age, you are not really interested in homework. You don't know if the child has homework. You don't know what the child is doing at school. Teacher doesn't know you. Maybe you're on the books by name, but they can't make an association of this parent with that child. That's very uninvolved. All right. So that's basically uninvolved. As it relates to permissive parenting,
Okay.
This is a more relaxed kind of parenting, all right? I don't know if you want me to do the correlation in terms of the implication, preferably.
Yes.
All right.
Before we move on to the other two.
Not
Yes,
a problem.
Definitely.
All right. So you can imagine that for a child who has experienced uninvolved parenting, now these children are mostly at risk in terms of they're very vulnerable. They're at risk for abuse. Because the thing about it is that every one of us were made to respond to love. Naturally, that's how we were created. So for these children, anything that feels like love, they might not know love, because the question may be asked, how do they know that it's love when they've never experienced love? But they have this mechanism that responds to care.
Yes.
So you can imagine any adult, anyone who shows any form of care, this child is gone.
To gravitate towards that.
Yes. So they're easily kidnapped. They were just there. So they're like magnet to anything. And then children who grow up with parents who are uninvolved, then you can just imagine. They grow themselves,
Yes.
They raise themselves. So you can imagine that they'll be involved in just about anything when they reach decision-making age, and that can be young. So even from they're going to school, you don't know what friends they have, you don't know what they're watching. So pretty much the age of tablet, just grow them. And then what I want to say is that this topic of parenting and childhood runs deeply in the fabric of society because it affects adults.
Yes.
Right?
Definitely.
And so sometimes people, as psychologists, you might find people scoffing at us like, oh, you're just too much. You people are too much. Everything has to do with the mind, and everything is interlinked because it's called the stages of development. And they are not in segment, they're sequenced and they're linked. So you will find like an adult, very uninvolved. So you might wonder, why is this student just uninvolved? That's how they grew up. They don't have any interest in anything. So you might find a good Samaritan, say, let me send it to school. But they're not doing anything in school. And that's not necessarily because they're dunce or they don't have the interest. So that is where we come in. Yeah?
Yes.
They get an assessment as to what is going on. And there is hope for these children because they can find out that they were grown in a certain circumstance, but they can break the cycle, and there is self-actualization that they can access. And so all is not lost, but it's a little bit too late up. They would have missed out on so much. So that's uninvolved parenting, what it means and the implication.
Okay. And just before we move on to the other one, which is permissive, we're going to take a quick break.
Sure.
And take a word from our partners. We'll be right back.
Making it last is all I care to do. You loving me, I loving you. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life. We won't live in the past. We're making it last. Mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, friends forever.
You can't live your best life without a healthy immune system. Boost your immune system the delicious way with Zappy's organic juices and punches. Made from local produce with zero added sugar, our juices cleanse and revitalize your body as they boost your natural immunity. Try our delicious flavors: Beat It, Berry Bomb, Get Fresh, Ton Up, and Island Splash. Find us on Instagram at Zappy's Organics, or call or send a WhatsApp message at 1-876-779-8910 to order today. That's 1-876-779-8910. Zappy's Organic Juices and Punches. Live your best life today.
Let's go! Mummies and daddies, do you want to save space for your children to learn more about God? Then join us on Kids Space!
Yes, boys and girls, mommies and daddies, join us for story time. Discover more and explore more. And enjoy our art and craft segment with Auntie Carla. And don't forget our Kids Space Kitchen with Auntie Patrice. Log on to our YouTube channel today. It's Kids Space, where we bring you inspiration from our space to your space.
Langdo Language Institute was created to meet your language and communication needs. All of our packages were created just for you. We are passionate about language and dedicated to your success. We offer the CSEC English program, the Study Buddy program, the Get Ahead with English program, and the Business Communication program. Contact us at 767-285-0938 or email us at landolanguage@gmail.com. Because the real question is, how can we help you?
Making it last is all I care to do. You loving me, I loving you. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life. We won't live in the past. We're making it last. Mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, friends forever.
We're continuing a conversation with Anthia Barrymore. It's about the 4 primary parenting styles. Right. And so just before we took the break, you spoke a little bit about the uninvolved.
Yes.
Well, I think you basically covered. So now we're permissive and the implications on the parenting process.
Sure. All right. So permissive type of parenting, it's parenting, but it's a relaxed type of parenting. So exactly what the word means again. All the parenting styles, the way they're labeled will suggest what they are, because you're given permission, but what kind of permission? So in this home, there's a child, and there are school of thoughts that goes with each of the parenting styles. So for the uninvolved, the school of thought is that that child raises himself, is on his own, he'll manage. For the permissive parenting, there are no boundaries, really. Rules are set, but rules are not followed and stick to. It's pretty much like he's a child. He'll grow it out. Children will do children things. And so let's take case in point. So I want our parents who are watching, or those of guardians who are watching, that children, we did say that parenting is not easy, right? It's not. We're not saying that it is. However, I want somebody to just think about, in this method of parenting, if you say the child will grow it out or the child will learn, where will they get the teaching from? Where will they? So the idea is, whatever it is that you'd want to see in your child at 6 and 7, you would have had to be cultivating that habit from early. And children are born. The Bible did say that we are born in sin and shaped in iniquity.
Yes.
Listen, if you have 5 children, chances are they're all going to be different.
Yes.
Even though they're from the same parent and same genes, they have different personality types, right? And so a child is going to be born, let's put it at the worst case scenario, bad. No, nobody wants a
bad child.
So what do you do as a parent? Parenting is a job. You might not be paid for it. Yes. The reward is there. You might not see it instantly, but it's a job. So it means that you're going to jump in and guide a process. Because from the process of infancy to adulthood, then probably about, it's a process. So who is going to guide that process? Who is going to tell that child? So in a permissive home, what you'll find is that it's okay. The child is throwing a tantrum. It's okay. Now, mark you, there are some others learned people out there who might say, because you have developmental tasks and activities, so they'll see in the literature that, a child would be selfish at this age. Yes, a child will be selfish. That's the reality. But do you allow that selfishness to develop and grow? or do you curb? So it is not about what a child would come with. That's known, but what are you going to do about the undesirables?
Yes.
As parents, you have to be there to curb that. So in a permissive home, it's almost as if anything goes. And this one, you might set rules. So you will say something like, listen, John, if you don't stop doing that, I'm going to take the tablet. And it is said, but children are very observant. You just say that and you're gone about your business. The tablet is never taken. Or you take the tablet and the child whines, Mommy, and you give the tablet back. So, it's kind of more relaxed, but not necessarily to the benefit of the child, right? Because you know what happened now? The implications of these children is that sometimes and most times they grow up defying authority. They don't have any respect for authority because there was no boundary set. When their authority figure spoke to them when they were growing up, it meant nothing. Nothing was followed through on. So these are some of the ways that, and many other ways that you can think of in that not only authority, but these children, it's almost as if they are kind of not able to identify spaces and how to behave in spaces.
I am smiling because in my other life as an educator, I'm just saying to myself, it's interesting how this then explains why when people are in a classroom where they behave the way they do, because a lot of it is coming from how they were socialized.
Right.
And then sometimes if it is that you're not even aware of that.
That's correct.
Let me say it another way. It's best if you're aware of this so you then know how best to deal with them in that space as well.
Correct.
Yes.
And
yes.
I'm going to interject might. We usually use might because there's not any, though we're speaking about this and the whole matter of parenting,
yes,
there might be several other factors why that child would have, but the direct impact of a child, if the assessment is done and you can look back in history and see, oh, this child, that is a strong correlation with that kind of behavior. And you're very correct. In the whole matter of education, Ms. Daly, it's a networking. It's a networking. And that is why we have guidance counselors in schools, and guidance counselors and teachers ought to work together. Right.
Yes.
So that the guidance counselor can inform, the teacher of a particular situation of a child, and that the teacher will be able to, we don't have the one-to-one in the classroom, but that child can be looked out for. Because when you don't understand the behavior, like you're saying, then the treatment can be totally different. Right? So it's very important.
One of the things, though, for the first two that you mentioned just now, uninvolved and permissive, is not necessarily you want to say that they're bad parenting styles. So I don't want to say bad, but for me, it would seem as if these first two would almost encourage some of the behaviors, some of the negative behaviors almost, or is that?
And you're correct.
Okay.
These parenting styles are not recommended.
Okay.
I want to interject here to say, though you might find in a home a little bit of each of the parenting styles.
Okay.
What we want to say today is it's not a battering program. This program is about relationships and improving relationships. So what we're doing here is to say we're educating and making parents aware, and even adults who were parented, that if they could recognize any of what happened to them, then they can better understand why they're going through what they're going through and seek help.
Yes.
So we're saying that if you find that this is happening in your home, it is the parenting styles that you want to deviate from. You don't want to embrace those as the parenting styles that you want to use moving forward. They're not the recommended parenting styles.
Okay. All right. So you've basically said that these two are the ones that are not recommended.
Yes.
No, we're not gonna pack everything in this one episode because we want people to come back for part 2.
Okay.
But you want to give them a foretaste of what will come in the next one? We want to just leave them in suspense? What do we want to do?
We just want to tell them to make sure you don't miss part 2 because it's what you're going to want to hear. What you have heard is what is not recommended.
Okay.
So I'm sure you want to hear what is recommended.
This was a conversation with Anthia Barrymore, which is really just part 1 of the conversation. Join us again next week. This was Making It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, but with other people. I'm Noreen Daly. Until next time.
Making it last is all I care to do. You loving me, I loving you. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives,